Number 32. On the 8th of October 1983, a tragic crime unfolded when Andrei Chikalenko, a notorious Russian serial killer, murdered a young woman in Novoshakhtinsk, a town situated near the border of present-day Russia and Ukraine. The victim, who was between 18 and 25 years old and had a B blood type, was discovered after Chikalenko admitted to meeting her at a bus station where she was seeking a man with a car as a sex worker. Between 1978 and 1990, Chikalenko's reign of terror resulted in the sexual assault, murder and mutilation of 52 to 56 women and children across the Soviet Union. Ultimately, he was convicted of 52 murders, including this one, and faced execution on the 14th of February 1999. Number 31. In April 1988, a young woman estimated to be between 22 and 28 years old fell victim to the notorious Russian serial killer Andrei Chikalenko. Her lifeless body was discovered on the premises of a metal factory located near Krasny Sulin station, marking yet another tragic chapter in a series of heinous crimes that shocked the nation. Number 30. On the 2nd of April 1993, construction workers excavating a trench in the heart of the city made a chilling discovery. A mass grave located near the former residence of Lavrentiy Beria, the infamous head of Stalin's secret police. Given Beria's notorious reputation for conducting brutal interrogations and tortures within his own home, it is plausible to consider that the remains found could belong to his victims. The mansion, now a charming pastoral structure that serves as the Tunisian embassy, evokes a sense of dread among Russians who recall the dark history of Beria, luring young women there only to meet a tragic fate in the basement. As the workers continued their digging, they uncovered a disordered pile of human bones, including 2 children's skulls, all covered in lime or chlorine. Initially, they believed they had unearthed an old cemetery, but the absence of clothing, jewelry or coffin fragments, along with the naked state of the corpses, painted a grim picture. Such mass graves occasionally surface in the former Soviet Union, serving as haunting reminders of the oppressive regime under Stalin. Like Stalin, Beria hailed from Georgia and led the Cheka, the persecutor to the KGB during the 1930s, before becoming Moscow's security chief. Ultimately, in 1953, Beria was executed by Stalin's successors, who viewed him as a threat, labelling him an imperialist agent. Number 29. On the 13th of April 1996, the body of a woman, estimated to be between 20 and 30 years old, was discovered approximately 20 metres off a road connecting the villages of Trzyhorki and Mikhailovo. The remains were severely burnt, with only 25% of the body intact, and authorities have since reconstructed her face from the skull. A criminal investigation has been initiated, but the woman's identity remains unknown. Officials are urging anyone who may recognise her from the provided photograph to reach out to the Regional Investigative Department. Number 28. The skeletal remains of a victim were found in a forested area near Buranovo, alongside those of another young woman, Galina Dorina. Galina, a university applicant, had been reported missing on the 17th of June 1998, and her body was discovered buried, bearing multiple injuries likely inflicted by a sharp object. Authorities suspected that she had been murdered approximately a year earlier. Between 1998 and 2000, a series of murders claimed the lives of 9 student applicants and 2 mothers in the vicinity of Buranovo and Buranovo, all attributed to an unidentified serial killer. While no specific details about the unknown girl have been disclosed, the media's characterization of her as a girl, similar to the 8 identified victims, suggests she may have been a student or applicant of comparable age. During this period, several applicants reported encountering a man who offered assistance with administrations during the exam season. The individual, described as being between 40 and 45 years old, of average build and standing at 175 to 180 centimetres tall, had a friendly appearance but unkempt dark brown hair. Investigations into the case also uncovered numerous allegations of bribery and sexual harassment by teachers towards students, yet these claims did not result in any arrests related to the murders. On the 27th of October 2000, Alexander Anisimo was arrested on suspicion of involvement in the series of murders after a woman identified him as the man who had offered her assistance with her university application, falsely claiming to be the dean of a non-existent department. A 45-year-old shoe seller with a family, Anisimo had a history of minor criminal offences, including hooliganism and attempted theft. Despite his denials of ever visiting the university, at least 11 individuals recognised him as the person who had approached them for help. A search of his home uncovered an array of weapons, including axes, knives, a shotgun and handcuffs, though it remains uncertain whether any were linked to the murders. Shortly after his arrest, Anisimo confessed to killing 5 applicants between July and June 2000, claiming that robbery was his motive, yet he faced charges only for illegal possession of firearms. On the 1st of November, he allegedly took his own life while being escorted by authorities to locate a supposed accomplice to whom he had sold the stolen jewellery, which was never recovered. His death left lingering questions about his guilt as the murders ceased, but the controversy surrounding his involvement continues. Number 27. In 1999, a heartbreaking event unfolded when a teenager, aged between 13 and 19, fell victim to the notorious serial killer Vladimir Dolin, infamously known as the Kopeysk maniac. Although specific details about the victim are limited, reports suggest they were discovered in a vulnerable condition, with Dolin, then only 16, driven by reckless impulses. He was sentenced to 8 years and 6 months for his crime, but after his release in November 2006, he tragically escalated his violence, sexually assaulting and murdering 2 young girls, one in 2007 and the other in 2008. In September 2009, Dolin was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment for these heinous acts, yet his life ended in despair when he took his own life on the 25th of December 2009. Number 26. On the 10th of August 2006, the body of a female murder victim was found on a street in Moscow. She was Caucasian, between 20 and 25 years old, and was found murdered from a gunshot. It was determined that she was the victim of serial killer Alexander Ila Straftov. While working as a private taxi driver in Moscow, he robbed and murdered 6 people between 2005 and 2007. This Jane Doe being among his victims. He would later be convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. Number 25. In July 2007, a tragic encounter unfolded in the Ulan-Ude when the victim met Orhan Bayev on the street. After getting to know each other, they took a taxi to the village of Myasokombinat, where they consumed alcohol by the Uda River. During their conversation, Kagashbek proposed a sexual encounter, which the victim declined. In a fit of rage, he strangled her and subsequently violated her corpse. He abandoned her body on the riverbank, only to return the next day to dismember it and dispose of the remains in the water. The victim, believed to be between 17 and 25 years old, has never been identified, and there are conflicting reports regarding the recovery of her remains. Orhan Bayev, who had a history of 2 prior murder convictions, was ultimately sentenced to life in prison for this heinous act and 2 additional murders. On the 27th of August 2008, the lifeless body of a woman was discovered along the banks of the Izhora River, concealed in cloth bags and blankets secured with duct tape and ropes. The victim, a Caucasian woman aged between 45 and 50 years old, stood approximately 155 to 160 centimetres tall and was found dressed in a green blouse, a beige bra, beige underwear, dark grey socks and a wedding ring. Beside her lay the body of a man, similarly disposed of, with both victims having succumbed to multiple stab wounds. Despite extensive efforts by the police to gather witness accounts and evidence, including entering their DNA into the Russian database, no identification was made, and the case eventually went cold due to lack of leads. On the 9th of October 2021, skeletal remains of a child were uncovered in the same river, and DNA analysis confirmed a familial connection to the deceased couple, suggesting they were likely husband and wife. Investigators pursued all reports of missing couples with children in Russia since 2007, but their search yielded no results. It is believed that the family may have lived on the fringes of society or were foreign nationals in Russia, ultimately falling victim to a perpetrator known as the Izhora maniac. Additionally, Russian authorities connected this tragic family's demise to another man found dead in the river in April 2008. 23. On the 12th of May 2009, the remains of a woman were discovered in the Vila Kulya River near Ogurtsovo. She was identified as Caucasian, aged between 50 and 60, standing at 156 centimetres tall, with long grey and light brown hair. It was observed that she was missing most of her teeth. At the time of her discovery, she was dressed in a grey sweatshirt, a grey robe, grey tights, pink underwear and dark blue socks, and she also had a pair of grey metal glasses attached to a chain. 22. On the 11th of March 2010, the lifeless body of a woman was discovered on a beach in Makhachkala. She appeared to be between 50 and 55 years old, stood at 160 centimetres tall, and had blonde hair with a notable burn on her right thigh. At the time of her discovery, she was dressed in a brown leather raincoat, a black sweater, a t-shirt, black jeans and socks, painting a sombre picture of her final moments. 21. On the 17th of August 2012, a woman's body was discovered in Lake Kulonga, located in the Murmansk region of Russia. She was identified as Caucasian and estimated to be between 45 and 55 years old. Tragically, she was found with a metal chain around her neck to which a bag of stones was attached, leading authorities to classify her death as a premeditated murder. As her identity remains unknown, the investigative committee of the Russian Federation for the Murmansk region is appealing to the public for any information that could help identify her or shed light on the circumstances surrounding her death. 20. On the 30th of August 2012, a woman was discovered in the bushes near Building 2 of Tram Avenue in St. Petersburg, Russia. She appeared to be between 20 and 30 years old, Caucasian, and stood approximately 160 to 170 centimetres tall, with a normal build and dark brown hair of medium length. Notably, she had piercings in her face and belly button, and was wearing a pink t-shirt adorned with a blue pattern. 19. On the 29th of January 2013, the lifeless body of a woman was discovered alongside a younger female, suspected to be her daughter or sister, in a village in Tomsk Oblast. Local residents reported to investigators that they had seen a fire in the vicinity and had noticed unfamiliar tire tracks on the road leading from Gromyshevka Blast on the morning of the 27th. The deceased woman, aged between 50 and 60, had an appendectomy scar, and authorities found a metal key and a surgical device near her body. While several pieces of jewellery were recovered, it remains unclear which of the two women they belonged to. although police suspect they may originate from Chemovo blast.
18.
On the 29th of January 2013, the bodies of two young women, one believed to be between 20 and 30 years old, and an older woman thought to be her mother or sister, were discovered in a village in Tomsk Oblast. Local residents reported seeing a fire in the vicinity on the morning of the 27th of January, along with unfamiliar tyre tracks on the road. Near the younger woman's body, investigators found a metal key and several pieces of jewellery, although it remains unclear which of the deceased owned the items. Russian authorities suspect that the jewellery may have originated from Chemovo Oblast, adding to the mystery surrounding this tragic incident.
17.
On the 25th of September 2013, a woman's lifeless body was discovered in Buguruslan. She was identified as a Caucasian female, approximately 20 to 25 years old, standing 163 centimetres tall, with light brown hair. Her appearance included pierced ears, silver-painted fingernails and red-painted toenails, and she was last seen wearing a purple short-sleeved t-shirt. Investigators suspect that she died from strangulation, but she also exhibited multiple blunt force injuries and fractures to her face and head. Authorities believe she may have originated from the Samara Oblast, Tatarstan or Republic of Bashkortostan.